You're listening to the Craft Messages That Matter podcast. I'm your host, Theo Capodistrius. Grab a coffee, sit back, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, and here we are, another episode of the Craft Messages That Matter podcast. As this is the podcast about all things communication, presentation skills, and public speaking, this week I thought we'd discuss something that we may all need to deal with at some point in our lives, or we probably already have, and that is difficult people. We'll be delving into the art of effectively communicating with hostile people. Whether it's a difficult colleague, a family member with opposing views, or a stranger with aggressive behavior, understanding how to navigate these conversations is critical. Now, I'm a lawyer, and even though I've only ever worked in a corporate environment, I've dealt with my fair share of hostile people in commercial negotiations and even some of the clients I've had to deal with over the years. Not to mention, I've spent years working in retail, both in a corner store, a grocery store, and also in the pharmaceutical environment. So I've had a lot of dealings with difficult people, and I found things that do work and a lot of things that don't work. So for today, we're going to talk about some of the key things that are going to help us deal with this in the best way. Let's dive in deeper into some strategies that can help us communicate with hostility in a more effective and constructive manner. Communicating with hostile individuals can be pretty challenging, but it's important to approach these interactions with a level head and a clear objective. The first point I want to talk about is remaining calm. Hostility can easily escalate if we respond with aggression or anger. Instead, take a deep breath and maintain a composed demeanor. This can help diffuse tension and create a safer space for some dialogue. Now, just think for a moment, if you were working in retail and you had a Karen pop in, start yelling at you, and you decided to yell back, do you really think that would end well? No. So, being able to stay calm and not react back to her anger or his anger or their anger is more effective in the long run. Staying calm is essential. It allows you to think clearly and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Remember, you don't have control over the other person's behavior, but you do have control over your own. By modeling calmness, you may encourage the hostile person to follow suit. So by being calm, you're actually likely to get a better result. And if they see that you're not reacting to their anger, they're likely to just calm down a little bit, which is really important. The next strategy I want to talk about is actively listening. With all communication, listening is a really key skill that we often forget about. When engaging with hostile people, it's critical to understand their perspective and their concerns. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but by actively listening, you demonstrate respect and some empathy. It also provides an opportunity to uncover an underlying issue contributing to their hostility. Why the flip is this person angry and going off? Let's find out. Actively listening involves giving the other person your full attention, maintaining eye contact and using body language that shows you're engaged. So put the phone away and listen to the person. Look directly into their eyes and listen to their concerns. Responding with open-ended questions can also help elicit more information and encourage the hostile person to express themselves. So asking those big questions which allow them to actually answer is going to be more effective in the long run. Effective communication is a two-way street, and listening is just as important as speaking. Let's move on to the third strategy, choosing your words carefully. When dealing with hostility, it's crucial to use non-confrontational language. Avoid personal attacks, sarcasm, or aggressive tones that may further escalate the situation. I know, if you know me personally, you're probably thinking, Theo, you don't do any of these things. You are the most sarcastic person I've ever met. And you know what? I do love sarcasm. I love it in my sort of communal, personal life when I'm dealing with the average everyday person. However, when dealing with aggressive people, it does not help. It's going to anger them more, and we don't want that. Instead, try focusing on using I statements, because they can help express your feelings and perspectives without sounding accusatory. I statements are a great way to express your thoughts without putting the other person on the defensive. For example, instead of saying, "you're wrong," you can say, "I see it differently." And this helps keep the conversation open and non-threatening. And we definitely don't want to be in a threatening situation with a hostile person. The fourth strategy is to find common ground. Even when faced with hostility, there is often an underlying shared interest or concern. By identifying these areas of agreement, you can shift the conversation toward more productive and constructive discussions. Helping to find that common ground, you create a foundation for collaboration and understanding, and isn't that a better place to be? It allows you to build that rapport and bridges that gap between different perspectives. It's easy to find solutions when you focus on what you have in common rather than what separates you. Negotiation 101. Lastly, the final strategy is to set boundaries when necessary. So, even though it's important to remain open and respectful, it's equally really important, probably more important in fact, to establish the boundaries if hostility becomes abusive or crosses into personal limits. You have the right to protect yourself from emotional and physical harm. Boundaries are essential for maintaining your well-being and ensuring a healthy communication. If the situation becomes toxic or unsafe, it's important to remove yourself from it. Your safety and your mental health should always be a priority. These strategies, remaining calm, actively listening, choosing your words carefully, finding common ground, and setting boundaries, can significantly improve your ability to navigate conversations with difficult and hostile people. It takes practice. Trust me. I have been in the face of some of the most aggressive and angry people imaginable. But these techniques can help. By approaching these conversations with some composure, a little bit of empathy, you can increase your chance of reaching a more productive outcome. And ultimately, it's going to be a good thing. So I hope this has given you something to think about. And if you like this episode, please follow or subscribe and give it a rating. Give it a 5 out of 5. We love that, particularly as I'm in the early stages of the pod. To learn more about what I do as a speaker, a trainer, an MC, and a public speaking, communications and presentation coach, head to my website, www.theocap.com.au. Follow the Craft Messages That Matter Instagram page at CMTM_podcast. And of course, follow my personal Instagram page at theocap